Welcome back to Hannah's Harvest. Today is August 17th, so that means it's time to do my August garden tour. And I was looking back through my July garden tour video when I did a tour in the middle of a week that we had temperatures in the hundreds. And it was amazing to see the difference from then until now. And today we've had a beautiful rainy day. The garden is looking lush and green, and this just goes to prove to me that in the hottest part of the summer, when I feel like giving up, the garden is still worth the time and the investment of my energy, because if I can stick it out and keep pushing, it continues to produce and amaze me. So I'm so excited for you to see how much the garden has changed in the past month. Starting with the raised bed garden, you can see that a lot has changed. The zinnias in the pots in front of the raised beds have really started to take off. They're growing beautifully and producing really well, and I've enjoyed cutting them for flower arrangements. Last month I had squash planted in here, and it really started languishing, so I pulled it out. I also had my carrots in here, which I've harvested, and down here I decided to plant a round of dill. It's been a couple weeks since I've planted, and I've been watering frequently, but nothing has happened yet. So I'm kind of starting to wonder if the dill will actually do anything. The basil that I started from seed has really taken off, and I'm excited to dry that and use it fresh. That is the Genovese basil variety. And our peppers have continued to produce even through the hottest part of the summer. Peppers are a great thing to have if you live in a hot and humid climate, and especially hot peppers do really well in high temperatures. Since the last tour, the trellis has changed quite a bit. The cucumbers are growing all the way past the top. I even have some cucumbers in here to show you. I've harvested my first one, and I've got lots of baby cucumbers in here that I'm excited to make pickles out of. Also doing well on the trellis are the beans and cantaloupe that I've planted, and I don't have any fruit yet, but I'm hoping that soon I'll have lots of beans and cantaloupe to show you. In a lot of my videos, you've probably heard really loud insect noise, and that's from cicadas, just like this guy. Today, since it's nice and cool, they're not as loud as normal, so hopefully they're not bothering you too much. And because of the rain, the tomatoes have grown like crazy, and to be honest, this single trellis system is not working that great because I decided not to prune my tomatoes very much this year. I really think a tomato cage made out of hog panel is what I'm going to try to do next year, but I've done my best to tie them up. But as you can see, they kind of have a mind of their own, especially this Roma tomato. And now that the temperatures have gone down a little bit, they've started to flower again and even to set some tomatoes, so I'm excited for my next round of tomato harvest, hopefully later this month. Well, the zinnias and basil have nearly taken over this bed, but I did go ahead and plant another round of squash down in here, and my hope was that by planting it with a little bit of shade cover, it would do better than my last squash. I found that squash really struggles if they get full sun and the temperatures get up into the 90s and hundreds. My most exciting part of this bed are the okra, and okra are a southern crop that loves heat and humidity, so the temperatures we had at the end of July, beginning of August, these okra loved, and they have grown a huge amount in the past month. In fact, I think I'm only a couple days away from flowers and pods. These zinnias were mashed a little bit when the tomatoes fell over in the storm last night. And I almost forgot to show you the radishes I have tucked around the edges of these beds. These radishes are a couple weeks away from being harvested, but I also planted some new radish seeds a couple weeks ago, and here's how they're doing. You can see they have a little bit of bug damage, I think, from roly-polies munching on their leaves, but they should be totally fine and ready in a couple weeks. And that reminds me that back behind my tomatoes where I had sunflowers, remember that I planted some bok choy, and the seedlings are doing really well. They have come right up. I had almost 100% germination, and they've already grown quite a bit from when I first seeded them. So I'm excited to see how those do. And I do have one last sunflower that's growing and about to bloom. Behind the raised bed garden is a little bit of a fail. My blackberry is looking really sad. I think it just needs to be planted in its permanent home in the ground. And the marigolds I had planted under the bird bath got really blown over by the storm, so hopefully they'll perk back up soon. On the back porch, my zinnia and sweet potato combination is still going strong. I've been really impressed by how many flowers I've gotten out of these plants, and the sweet potatoes are actually starting to produce tubers. I can see right at the base of the roots that there are some sweet potatoes forming, which makes me really excited. On to the greenstock tower garden. I'm really impressed with how everything is doing in the tower garden. Down at the base, I have my cinnamon basil that smells delicious and looks beautiful. Over here, I also have some lemon basil. And my zinnias are looking beautiful. My miniature sunflowers are drying out so that I can save seeds from those for next year. And my strawberries, surprisingly, haven't done all that much this year. I'm a little bit disappointed by them. I've only gotten a couple of small fruit, so maybe later this summer they'll really start to shine. Something that has produced really well is this Tom Thumb tomato plant, and since the temperatures have cooled back down, they started producing again, and I've honestly been amazed with how many tomatoes have come off of each of these tiny plants. Definitely a must grow in the green stock for next year. I'm also loving the zinnias in the green stock. They add so much color to a small space, and I'm able to pack several in to each hole. For my perennials, my chives and lavender are doing really well at the bottom of the green stock too. Thank you so much for joining me in my garden today. I hope you enjoyed this tour, and I hope you feel inspired to continue working in your garden or gardening space.